Ian Murray, it wouldn't be so bad if this was just a shambles, would it? But this smacks of something a bit more sinister than that. Has Scottish Labour been deliberately carved up by London Labour here?
Well, I think the only outlier here is actually John McDonnell himself, because it was great to hear Richard Leonard coming out so strongly earlier to say that there shouldn't be a second independence referendum. That was the policy of the Scottish and UK Labour parties. It's a policy that's been written into many manifestos, indeed any manifesto since 2015, so he was right to come out and emphasise that. And I think the reaction you've had from all the Labour MSPs and most of the Labour MPs today is one of what John McDonnell was doing. The very fact he has done it at a comedy festival maybe tells you all you need to know.
Two things on that. Firstly, Neil Finlay, MSP, said it was good and healthy in a personal view. Secondly, here's what your 2017 manifesto says. Labour opposes a second Scottish independence referendum, unwanted and unnecessary, will campaign tirelessly to ensure Scotland remains part of the UK. It doesn't actually rule out a Section 30 order. It says you'll campaign against the second referendum, but it is implicit that if the majority of Scots want one, it won't stand in the way of one being held.
Well, look, let's just clear this up. The policy of the Labour Party, which has been emphasised time and time again by Richard Leonard on every single television channel today and this evening, is that we would oppose a second independence referendum. Now, John McDonnell has come up here. He said something yesterday at a Fringe Festival event and then called it an English Parliament as well, which was something completely bizarre. Neil Finlay is saying people are entitled to their own opinion. Of course we're entitled to our own opinions. We do have a healthy debate in the broad church of the Labour Party. We always have. The difficulty is that John McDonnell is the Shadow Chancellor. He ultimately, as the Shadow Chancellor, has to carry the Labour Party message and the Labour Party policy. He essentially isn't really entitled to his own opinion when he's speaking as the Shadow Chancellor, and I think you see from the reaction over the last 24 hours that when he does freelance and when he does talk about things that he has no full understanding of, he not only gets himself into trouble, but he gets the entire Labour Party into trouble.
This isn't a mix-up. He didn't just reaffirm, double down, as the Americans say today. He expanded on his position. Isn't it the case that John McDonnell and other senior figures in Labour have got a sniff of Downing Street now and realise that maybe pro-independence votes hold the key to that? And Nicola Sturgeon hasn't ruled out a working relationship with Labour. Are you guys just collateral damage here?
Well, Martin, let's just be quite clear. The only person that ever talks about a deal with Labour is the SNP, because they know that it damages the Labour Party. It did in 2015, and it has done in every election since the 2014 independence referendum. And the second thing is purely mathematics. Now, I can't quite understand why people can't understand what's happening here. The parliamentary mathematics are as such. If there was a vote of no confidence in the current Prime Minister, we would require Conservative backbenchers and all the opposition parties to come together in the name of the Leader of the Opposition. That is the way it works. It would have to be up to the SNP to determine how they voted on a vote of no confidence. If there was a general election and Labour were returned as the largest party but a minority government, the Conservative Party would by nature have fewer seats than the Labour Party, and therefore there would be a significant anti-Conservative majority in the House of Commons. Now, the SNP would then have to decide if they wanted to bring down a Labour government and put a Conservative government in, as they did in 1979, or allow the Labour Party to rule as a minority administration. No deals need to be done. It's purely parliamentary mathematics, and the reason that the SNP keep talking about this is because they know it damages the Labour Party. All
right, well, let me move on to the broader issue here. All John McDonnell really is saying is that the people of Scotland should decide their own future. What's the problem with that?
Well, the people of Scotland decided their own future in 2014, and every single month and every single political issue since, the SNP have been trying to use that as a trigger for another independence referendum.
To some papers that were submitted at the Court session yesterday trying to interfere with the Brexit process. Why can you say that one referendum is sacrosanct while you're trying to interfere with another one?
Well, let me be quite clear about the Court of Session thing for a start, is because there is no constitutional way that the Prime Minister should be able to prorogue Parliament to shut it down, to stop Parliament having its voice. It's a procedure to try and stop the Prime Minister doing something that is illegal and unconstitutional. And the second thing to say in this is that I want to do everything in my power to make sure that my constituents and the constituents in Scotland and across the UK are as prosperous as possible.
Including potentially a second Brexit referendum.
Well, if you let me finish the question, that means that we want to stay in the EU as a UK and Scotland to stay in the UK. Now, the means of which we get there is neither here nor there in this fashion, and it is because of Brexit, and Ruth Davidson has a cheek to talk about the Labour Party being a threat to the Union when the Conservative and Unionist Party have just ditched all their Unionist credentials to be a Brexit party. The biggest threat to the UK at the moment is a Boris Johnson Prime Minister and a hard Brexit. The harder the Brexit, the more fuel is on the fire. So we have to stop that.
I hear all of that, but if you are campaigning potentially for a second referendum on Brexit, How is it possible that you can say the 2014 referendum on independence is sacrosanct?
Because the two things are completely and utterly...
Scotland has changed beyond recognition since Brexit.
Completely and utterly unrelated in this particular argument. We're saying that everything that was said in the 2016 Brexit referendum, all the promises that were made about there not being a no deal, about staying in the single market and the customs union, about having the easiest trade deals ever, all of them have not only appeared to be broken promises, but actually the Leave campaign broke the law. So it's right to go back to the people to say, now that you have a proposition on the table, is this what you wanted from Brexit? And the second thing is that in 2014 there was a clear and decisive, fair referendum that said that we would stay in the United Kingdom. These things, because they are bad for the Scottish economy in terms of independence,
and the EU,
and bad for the Scottish economy in terms of leaving the EU, it's absolutely right that the people should be able to decide whether or not they want that to go forward in terms of the EU. These things are not incompatible. The principle of staying in unions, in economic unions, we can't pitch one nationalism against the other and think it's going to be good for Scotland.
All right, Ian Murray, we could go on talking about this further. I'm sure we will return to it before you know it. But in the meantime, thank you very much indeed for contributing to the discussion tonight.
Thank you.